Hi, this is Thea Lightweaver. I am here to do a scary story time for Halloween or Samhain or All Hallows Eve, and even this connects in with the Day of the Dead, which is November 1st and 2nd. Please excuse me, I'm just getting over a cold, and there's been a lot of smoke in the area that I live in. It's really got to me and my sinuses. I'm getting better, taking my herbs, some thyme, some mullein tincture. So sorry about that. But anyway, so we're gonna have a story time with this book called La Llorona. It says The Weeping Woman, and it is written by, it's a Hispanic legend told in Spanish and English by Joe Hayes. Illustrations by Vicki, Trego Hill, and Mona Pennypacker. And this is a children's book that I actually bought for my kid who is learning Spanish. But I saw it and I was like, this is really interesting because it's a ghost tale. But also I just have a few things that I want to add about this story and what it's meant to me and its relationship to deities. So I'm going to add in a little bit of that afterwards. And there's also a lot of tales about her, even videos I found on YouTube of people who have actually had sightings of her or heard her or have different supernatural experiences with her. I don't have the gift to see spirits in that way, like ghosts or anything. I have never seen any ghosts. I do see with my inner vision, and that looks a bit different than what these people are describing, but I believe everyone has had supernatural experiences, and I recommend, if you want to really connect with this woman's story, to look up the videos, people on YouTube, especially people who are of Mexican descent or who've had experiences with her in Mexico, because that's where she's from. Alright, so let's begin this story, La Llorona. In the beginning, there is a section that says the tradition of storytelling, and it is explaining a bit about the way that stories were told to Hispanic children of the Southwest, and just how important storytelling was to them. So I'm just going to skip over that part, but if you want to check out this book, there's a cool little introduction. So it says, this is a story that the old ones have been telling to children for hundreds of years. It is a sad tale, but it lives strong in the memories of the people, and there are many who swear that it is true. So, I should have done something with my nails, but I'm an esthetician and I do facials on people all day, and I'm touching their skin and having products on my hands, and I can't have long nails or painted nails, so that's why I'm never very fancy. So, long years ago, in a humble little village, there lived a fine-looking girl named Maria. Some say she was the most beautiful girl in the world, and because she was so beautiful, Maria thought she was better than everyone else. This is a village, and this is Maria looking like, I guess they made her look a little snobby. As Maria grew older, her beauty increased, and her pride in her beauty grew too. When she was a young woman, she would not even look at the young men from her village. They weren't good enough for her. When I marry, Maria would say, I'll marry the most handsome man in the world. I guess these are some men from her village. And this is her probably checking them out, being like, that's not for me. And then one day, into Maria's village rode a man who seemed to be just the one she had been talking about. He was a dashing young ranchero, the son of a wealthy rancher from the southern plains. He could ride like a Comanche. In fact, he owned a horse, and it grew tame. He would give it away and go rope a wild horse from the plains. He thought it wasn't manly to ride a horse unless it was half wild. This is this manly man. He's a ranchero. He was handsome, and he could play the guitar and sing beautifully. Maria made up her mind. This was the man for her. She knew just the tricks to win his attention. So Maria was deciding to use some of her feminine wiles at this point. If the ranchero spoke when they met on the pathway, she would turn her head. When he came to her house in the evening to play his guitar and serenade her, she wouldn't even come to the window. She refused all his costly gifts. The young man fell for her tricks. That haughty girl Maria, he said to himself, I can win her heart. That's the girl I'll marry. So he liked ladies who play hard to get. Apparently. What is she doing here? She's probably strategizing, formulating, And so everything turned out just as Maria planned. Before long, she and the ranchero became engaged, and soon they were married. At first, things were fine. They had 2 children, and they seemed to be a happy family together. It's him with his baby, and her with her baby. But after a few years, the ranchero went back to the wild life of the prairies. He would leave town and be gone for months at a time, and when he returned home, it was only to visit his children. He seemed to care nothing for the beautiful Maria. He even talked of setting Maria aside and marrying a woman of his own wealthy class. What a dick. As proud as Maria was, of course she became very angry with the ranchero. She also began to feel anger toward her children, because he paid attention to them, but just ignored her. So, I'm starting to get narcissist vibes here. Like, dude, if you were just gonna do that, then why go through all the trouble? Seems like he maybe just wanted to own something beautiful and then discard her. One evening, as Maria was strolling with her 2 children on the shady pathway near the river, the ranchero came by in a carriage. An elegant woman sat on the seat beside him. He stopped and spoke to his children, but didn't even look at Maria. He whipped the horses up on the street. So now he's too good for her, and look, she's pissed. And he's just strolling in with his new children, doesn't even care about her. Like, what the hell? What kind of person would do something like that? Sicko. Oh, this is like super purple, hard to read. When she saw that, a terrible rage filled Maria, and it all turned against her children. And although it is sad to tell, the story says that in her anger, Maria seized her 2 children and threw them into the river. So she got pissed and freaked out, and then she threw her kids in the river. But as they disappeared down the river, she realized what she had done. She ran down the bank of the river, reaching out her arms to them, but they were long gone. On and on Maria, driven by the fear that filled her heart, until finally she sank to the ground and lay still. The next morning, a traveler brought word to the villagers that a beautiful woman lay dead on the bank of the river. That is where they found Maria, and they laid her to rest where she had fallen. But from the first night she was in the grave, the villagers heard the sound of crying down by the river. At first they thought it was only the wind they were hearing, but when they listened more carefully, they heard words. "Ay, my children," a voice sobbed pitifully. "Where are my children?" And they saw a woman walking up and down the bank of the river, dressed in a long white robe, the way they had dressed Maria for burial. On many a dark night they saw her walk the riverbank, but more often they would hear her cry for her children. And so they no longer spoke of her as Maria. They called her La Llorona, the Weeping Woman, and by that name she is known to this day. And they still warn the young ones, when it grows dark, get inside the house. La Llorona may be about looking for her children. Be careful, she might mistake you for one of her own children. They tell of many children down through the years who have been chased by the crying ghost, and of some who have even been caught. So I guess this is a picture of some children, and La Llorona's ghostly hand trying to grab them. Is the story really true? Who knows? Some claim that it is. Others say that it isn't. But the old ones still tell it to the children just as they heard it themselves when they were young. And in the same way, the children who hear it today will someday tell it to their own children and grandchildren. And then there's just a page at the end saying that there's different ways that the story has been told. And yeah. Pretty cute book for kids. So my commentary on this is she's stuck. She's stuck in a place where her grief for what she lost and her pain, it never got alchemized. And I feel what the difference is between a ghost tale, a spirit who is stuck in the afterlife, like an earthbound spirit who cannot move on, and who is a being of fear within their culture. The difference between a tale like this, a ghost story, and tales of, let's say, souls who transition to god status, like they become gods or goddesses, like for example Sedna, who started out as a woman and went through a horrible ordeal and, drowned in the ocean at the hands of her own father. The difference between a ghost and a goddess, I've found, is that the goddesses, they end up being able to alchemize their pain and to use it to transform them. But unfortunately, La Llorona, who was screwed over by a narcissist, she is stuck in that place, and she hasn't been able to alchemize what happened to her. She hasn't been able to transform it to gold, into her strength. She is stuck in loss and terror at what happened. And a lot of people are blaming her. They're like, oh, she was a crazy woman, she killed her own children. Why is no one talking about the man and what he did? That's actually fucking crazy. Like, if you engage with someone and you decide to marry them and then you pretend like they don't exist and you're only interested in the children, like, that's crazy to me. That's freaking disgusting. But because it's so common and almost expected from men, or I know women can be narcissistic too, but because it was so expected, maybe even back then, for men to just have multiple partners and screw over the people that they say that they love. That's so normalized that everything, all the blame is just shifted onto the woman. Oh, she's crazy because she killed her children. But so yes, during that moment, she took it too far, of course. But what pushed her to that? Can we talk about that? I feel like she may be stuck in this horrible place because she is blaming herself. The man obviously took no accountability, so she's just stuck blaming herself, and it's like she's not heard. Like, that, what happened to her was horrible, and it was just a cycle of pain that she inflicted onto the children, but really he inflicted that onto them just as much for abandoning their mother like that, dooming her to a life of, back then, I don't think it was so easy to just, divorce and find someone else, you know? So she's just stuck knowing that she gave away her beauty to someone who just threw her away like she was nothing. And she couldn't live with that. So she crossed over, and I really just want to say to the spirit of La Llorona, I want to say to her spirit, I hear you, I see you, I understand what you've been through, and I wish for you to forgive yourself and to reunite with your children and the missing pieces in yourself which have been lost in trauma. And I think her tale is a bit of a warning to us as well, that when traumatic things happen, there is always a danger of staying lost in the pain and not transforming it to your personal power. I want to challenge everyone who's been through something like this to connect in with your guides and the beings who have been able to alchemize these kind of situations and use these things to rise up and step into your queendom. Because even thinking about Hera and the way the stories say how badly she was cheated on and disregarded, but she is an amazing queen. And she took her pain and she helps other women to have good marriages and be good mothers, despite the pain that she's in. When you are in a state of grief or shock or suffering, you have to feel it all. You have to feel it and sit with it. And then reach out for help from spirit and be open to ways of transforming the pain and using it to deepen your reserves for compassion for others. And I hope that La Llorona can reach for the light and find healing and compassion and understanding for her and what she's been through. And I hope that La Llorona finds her children, they reunite, and they continue on in their spiritual journeys throughout the universes. So anyway, it's kind of something that doesn't have a happy ending, a resolution. A lot of times, being a Scorpio moon, I want to dig deep and find explanation or resolution for things, and this story just kind of leaves you hanging a bit. But if you have anything else to add on La Llorona, please comment below. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a spooky, fun Samhain or Halloween season. Use the time to connect in with your ancestors and your spiritual self, because this is the most powerful time of year for practitioners and occultists, spiritualists. This is the power moment in fall. Don't waste it. Alchemize what you can at this time. And we have some powerful eclipses coming up. October 25th is a new moon eclipse for 2022. And let's see, November 8th is a full moon eclipse, and these are some powerful times. Things are gonna be changing. There's gonna be some changes around you. So maybe some endings, maybe some things coming to light, maybe some uncomfortable things coming up that need to, and then healing comes after that. So I wish you all a good eclipse season. Yeah, thank you for watching. Bye.